Hello everyone, I am Siddharthan. In this video, let's understand how we can integrate our GitHub account with PyCharm so that we can have a very streamlined development process that helps us to manage and maintain our code in a better way rather than creating different versions of folders that sometimes can feel difficult to work on a project and maintain our code. So this will be the agenda for today's video and let's get started. So the prerequisites for this video are you should have a GitHub account. So if not, you can just like quickly sign up. So it's a pretty simple process. So that's first thing, and make sure that you have Git and PyCharm installed in your machine. So these are the prerequisites. So what we are going to do is, so here you probably would have created projects and worked on PyCharm, but what we are going to see is like how you can integrate this GitHub account so that you can connect any repositories to this PyCharm IDE, and you can like easily work on it, push the code like once you're done for the day, and you can update the code so that like the development process is smoother and we are like maintaining the code in a very standard way. So that is like the main purpose of this video. So first what we will do is we will create a sample repository in GitHub and then try to see how we can connect to this. And the next process is like how you can fork a different repository and then connect it to your PyCharm ID and also connect it to upstream so that any changes made to the original repository, you can pull that changes. So those are the main things that we are going to discuss. So I'm in my GitHub account. So you can go to this github.com. So after like creating this account, you would see like options to create the repositories and like search for different repositories. So I'm going to click on this new, and there are also other ways you can create repositories. Like there are multiple places, like you can go to this different repositories, fork it, or you can create a new one. Let's say I'm clicking on this new, and it would ask me for the name of this repository. Let's say that I'm calling this as GitHub PyCharm integration repo. So let's say that this is the name of the repository. So it says it's available. That means like we don't have any other repositories with the same name, and it's basically unique for my account. So if you want, you can like add a description, but again, that's not like compulsory. So I'll just like leave it as it is. We can add a readme file and we can just like have a git ignore and so on. So as we are going to work on Python related projects, I can say like it's related to Python so that Python files that we want to ignore will be added in this git ignore license. I'm just like keeping it as none and I'm creating my repository. So this is where I'm going to place like all my codes. So currently only as main branch. So later we can also create like development and other branches as well. So now let's see how we can connect this to PyCharm. So now I'll come back to my PyCharm. If this is like some other project that I was working on, so you're seeing these files. If not, you would see an option to, create a new project from version control and other stuff, or open a project. So from that option, you have to choose something that has this project from version control. So Git is a version control tool, and GitHub is like the cloud or the central repository where you can collaborate with others, right? And we have to choose this version control, and the version control is going to be Git. So there are like multiple ways to do this. Either you can connect to a specific repository and just like mention what's the directory you want to save this. So what I'll do is I can open my repository. I can go to this code, copy this HTTPS link, and I can put it. And then it would like ask you for authentication, and it would be like created. But the other way is to you can connect your GitHub account so that all the repositories you can have access to, and you can like connect to any repositories that you need, and you can like create a different environment and work on it. So those are like the two main things. So while connecting to this account, there are two ways. One is you can either log in with GitHub. So once you click this is going to ask you to log in via a browser, and you would be authenticated. Or the other way is like kind of use a token. So I would prefer using a token so that if something is wrong, you can later delete this token. So if you feel that like someone also has access to this, you can just like delete that token, rotate a different token. So that's something that we can do. So here you can click on generate. So let's say you are already logged into your GitHub account like this, and clicking on this generate will take you to the page where you can generate this. So I'm going to like authenticate my GitHub login. So if you have multi-factor authentication, like you would be asked to verify. If not, it would just like kind of open the page that we are interested in. So I've authenticated this. So this is what you will see. So here you can create a token that you can just like paste it in your PyCharm. Okay. I'll also show you how you can reach this page instead of like kind of initiating from PyCharm, how you can manually go here. So you can just like go to your GitHub account. So on the top right side, you have this account symbol, right? So click that and you will find the option called as settings. In the settings, if you scroll to the bottom of the page, you will see this developer settings. So, and then we have this personal access token, and you can give this tokens classic. So this is the page that we were like kind of seeing this before. Like you can click on this generate new token. Let's create a classic token. So this is the page that we were seeing before. So this is how you can create this. So I'll call this as demo integration token. Or again, as I said, you can easily come to this place from here as well. But again, if you want to connect this to different IDE or like different environment, let's say your code is on EC2 and all that, you can paste the token here. So in that case, you need to know how to access this token. So that's why like you know I wanted to show you this. So all you have to do is go to your profile, go to settings and developer options that we have seen, developer settings, and then from there you can create a token. So set the expiration date. Let's say that I'm setting this expiration date to, let's say, 7 days. You can set up no expiration, but I just choose a smaller expiration date, and you can give the access to, like, what are all the scopes and permissions that this particular token has access to. So workflows, write packages, and so on. So you can go through this and give like the ones that are absolutely required, but just for faster demo purpose, I'll just like click all these stuff, and then we can just like generate our token. So I'll click on generate token, and you will see this is your token, and you have to kind of copy this and save this somewhere safe, so that if you need it later, you can kind of like use it again. If you kind of missed it, you have to like create a new token, which is again, it's again another task that we have to do. So to kind of avoid that, you can just save this somewhere in a notepad file or in some like safe place where like you have access to. So I'll copy this token, I'll come back to my PyCharm, and I can paste it over here and click on login. So now you can see it has been connected to my account, and I see like all the different repositories that I've created. So the one that we are working on is demo uh, integration. Okay, PyCharm integration, right? GitHub PyCharm integration repo. So I'll choose this and click on clone. So this should clone, basically create a clone of the repository that we saw in GitHub. So you can click on this trust project and open in this window. So this is going to replace this. So now this has kind of like cloned what we had. So this readme file basically comes from this part, my repository. So you're seeing this getting no readme, right? So this is where it is, and this only has a main branch now, and we have successfully cloned this. Now let's say like we are creating a different branch, or let's say in dev, and how that can reflect in your PyCharm. So I'm opening this PyCharm. So you have this Python console terminal and all those stuff, and below this there is this option called as Git. So click this and you will see this remote origin is basically like this repository, the remote repository that's present over here, central place in GitHub. And local is what basically, it's present in your machine, right? So this particular code, these files, right? So we work on our local code, local files, and then we push it to remote. So that's the thing. So here you see this remote branches, and here you see like the local branches that you have. So if there are any changes in the remote, right, so you can just like kind of click this and click on this fetch all remotes. It's going to like update it, and if there are like any other branches, it's going to like clone that. So let's say that I'm opening my GitHub repository, clicking on this branch and typing in dev. So this is going to create a new branch called as dev from main. Okay, so we have created a second branch called as dev. So usually how we work is like we don't directly work on main branch. So main branch usually goes to the production server. So we don't touch it directly. So rather we make the changes in dev rather, and then create a pull request and merge your dev with your main. So that is like the standard approach. So now I'll come back to my PyCharm, and I'm going to click on this fetch all remotes. So now it's kind of as this dev branch that we have created. Now again in the local, we have to work on the dev branch only. So what you can do is click on this dev, right click, and give checkout. So that's going to change this main to dev. So now we are currently in our dev branch, and then we can just like work on this thing here. So let's say that I'm creating a new file, right click here, and let's say create a file called as sample, or let's call this as test.py. Python PY. So it would ask you to, if you want to add this to Git, you can just say add, and this would turn green in color. So the next time you commit, this file will be added. You can like push it, like you can also like test what are all the files that can be pushed. So right click here, go to this Git option. So right click on the file name, go to Git option, and you will see this commit file. So you can choose this file and say just type in some commit messages, and you can like commit and push this. So that's one way. And the other thing that we can discuss now is like changing the Git. Let's say that some files and folders that we don't need would probably also be pushed, so we have to check. So for example, in PyCharm we have a folder called idea.idea, so that will be pushed. So if I just like uncomment this from the git ignore, so you see this blue color line, so that says that some line has been modified like compared to the original repository. So that means like if there is a folder called as idea, which is like a hidden folder in this project, so that will be ignored. Basically like these folders won't be pushed. So the virtual environments, libraries, and some data folders, all those are kind of skipped when we are kind of pushing it. In order to skip that, we have to mention it in the git ignore. So that's the process. So the blue color thing here represents that this file has been modified, and this green color file represents that a new file has been added. So either you can select these two things, go to git, and you can just like push it, or the other way is open your terminal and say git space add space dot. So this is the command. So this is going to add the changes and say git space status. So this is going to say like what are all the changes has been made, and it says that it's been made in the dev branch. So you can see, so your branch is up to date with origin dev, but two files has been modified. One is git ignore, where we have edited this, uncommented this idea, and a new file has been added called as test.py. Now we have to commit this. So I can say git commit -m sample files or something. Okay, and finally we have to say git push origin dev. Okay, so git commit -m sample files, git push origin dev. So these are the things. So first you have to add the changes. You have to put a status that mentions like all the changes that we did, and git commit and git push origin dev. So these are the steps. Now press enter, and that's going to make like all the changes, and it's going to push this. So let's see. It says like all the changes has been pushed. Now I'll come back to my browser. So it says like dev add recent pushes on April 16th. So I'll refresh this page. Now you will see this test.py and so on, and you will see a commit ID over here. So if you click on this, you can see like what are all the changes that we did. So we have edited this idea. So previously there was ash, and then we have removed it, and then we have also added a py file. So that is how you can kind of like clone a repository, and then like you can just like work on it. So what we do is like, let's say for a day we are making a lot of changes working on the code. To make sure that everything is safe, usually at the end of the day or like after completing a specific feature, we push the code back to GitHub, and then we can like work on it. And if a particular feature is completed, we can just like merge the changes to main branch. So that's how like it basically works. So yeah, so you just like work on the local. So this is currently in local. Once everything is done, you can just like push it. Either you can right click here, go to Git, or you can just like open the terminal, and you can just like follow these 4 steps, and just like you can push it. So the main things are like git add, that we see over here, that adds all the changes that we have done, and it's going to push it. And we have to commit, mentioning like what's the change that we did, and finally do a git push origin dev. If you're pushing to main branch, you would say git push origin main. If you're pushing to dev branch, you would say git push origin dev. So that's the difference. Okay, so this is how we can do this. Now let's see how we can add a virtual environment to this. uh, each project, it's better if we can have a virtual environment, so that the libraries and the versions are specific to that environment. And if you are working on a different project, you can use a different virtual environment. And in PyCharm, when we create a new project from there, it would just give you an option to create some custom environment, generate new virtual environment, and so on. But when you are cloning this from GitHub, right, uh, you can also see the path of this file, and when you're cloning this, you would also see this option to clone this file as well. So that's another thing that I wanted to mention. So what you can do is, to create a virtual environment, navigate to this like bottom part. So it says 3.12. Click here. Sometimes it would say no interpreter if it doesn't find any interpreter. So there would be, once you click it, you can find an option called as add new interpreter, and give add local interpreter. Now in the location, navigate to the folder. So this is currently in GitHub PyCharm integration repos. This is where this project currently is. So choose that particular folder, the GitHub folder, and then put a backward slash if you are on Windows and say venv. So this is the virtual environment directory, and this is the base Python that's installed in your machine. So either you can use it or you can download a different version as well. So here I have a Python 3.12 version, so I can just like leave it as it is and click on OK. So this is going to create a venv, a virtual environment where all the libraries and everything will be stored here. So you can see like a folder created here, right? And again, we don't need this folder. As you can see, it's kind of orange in color. That means when we push it, it's not going to be pushed because it's already present in gitignore. So this is why we have chosen gitignore template as Python, because it already has this venv, .venv, and all those stuff. So this is how you can create a virtual environment here. So this is like the entire process of how you can clone a repository and how you can integrate this with PyCharm and just push your changes to GitHub thing and so on. So this is like the entire process. So the other thing that I wanted to explain today is like how you can fork it, how you can fork a different repository. You can just like connect it to the upstream. So basically, like we do like whatever we have done today with this thing. The only difference is like we would connect it with the original repository as well. So let's see how we can do that. So I'll open my browser. We can just search for some sample random repositories. So I'll come to this search and search for like sample, repositories or something. So I'll choose this particular repository. Okay. Let's see how we can do this. So when there is a public repository, you can fork it. So fork doesn't, I mean, it's basically a simple thing. So we create a own copy in our account. So when I fork it, you can see this belongs to this person and it's public now. So when I fork it, it's going to create a new copy. Freely experiment all these things. No available destination of this route. Okay. I think I've already created a copy. Let's see. Or I can maybe try a different repository. Let's see. Android, Compass, samples, Microsoft SQL, .NET samples. Maybe let's search for sample Python or something. Python robotics, learn Python. Let's say that we have this repository called as learn Python. So I can fork it and it would ask you to give a name and so on. So I'll just like say that copy the master branch only and everything. Create fork. If you want, you can also like copy like all the branches that's present over there. So that's possible as well. So this is forking. So now you have your repository here, which is a copy of the one that we have seen. Okay. So now what we have to do is just the same process of how we can connect this. So I'll come back to my PyCharm. I'll click on this main menu, click on project from version control, open this GitHub option because I'm not going to connect to a specific repository. Rather, we are going to use the account that we have connected. So here it's called a sample, right? So it's called as learn Python. Yes, yeah. So learn Python 3. So here you can mention like what's the directory it should be present. So for me, it's D work PyCharm project. So it automatically creates a folder with the same name as a repository, but you can change this. I would prefer like having as it is, but if you want, you can change this name and so on. So click on clone. So this is going to clone this repository. So trust project. And I'll just open in this window. So now we have like all those stuff and so on. So let's see if git ignore is proper. Maybe you don't have to do those virtual elements and git ignore now. So you can just open your git and you see this like origin master. So usually we have like master or origin. In our previous case we had main branch. So in this case we have this as like master, right? So instead of main, so we have this master. So we can just like refer to this as master in this case. Okay, so now what we have to do is other things like remains the same. So like if you want to create a branch, you can do that and you can check out a local branch there and so on. So that's like pretty similar process. So now let's say that we wanted to add a remote upstream. That means like if a code has been changed in the original repository. So this is this original repository, right, from which where we have forked. Let's say someone is making change to this repository and so on, and now we need that change in our local in our repository as well. So what we would do in this case is you can open your PyCharm, open your terminal, and here you can kind of say git remote add upstream. So git remote add upstream. So this is the command you have to use, and then copy the command, like copy the URL from the original repository. So I'll open this in a new tab. So this is the original repository, right? Go to this thing and copy the original repository, not the one that's present in your account, but the original upstream repository. Now paste it over here. So it says git remote add upstream, and paste this URL of this repository from HTTPS. So this is going to add this. So let's wait for this. Okay, I think it has added it. Fetch all remotes. Right. So once I click on this fetch all remotes, I see origin, which is our account, and this upstream is basically like the original repository from which we have forked it. Again, you won't be able to make changes to that original repository because we don't have access to that. We can but update the repository. Like if they change something, right, we can update it. So you can just like kind of uh, do this fetch all remotes, or you can like update it and so on. So let's see how we can do that from terminal. So let's say that we are connected to the remote upstream thing, and like everything is kind of working now. Let's say after a week some code has been changed in this original repository in this learn Python thing, right, from which we have forked. Now let's see how we can get those changes, update our local files as well. So you have to open your terminal and type in git fetch upstream. So this is going to update fetch like all the changes that present in your upstream. For now there are no changes, so we don't see any outputs and so on. So if not like this, so we can do this, and you have to check out to a specific branch. Let's say that we want to check out to master branch. It's already in master. If not, we would check out there. You would say something like git checkout master, but again, as I said, it's already in master. So as it says already on master, but let's say that we have a different branch called as dev or something else, so you can check out that branch as well. So first step is like git fetch upstream, so that's something you have to do. If you are on a different branch, come back to the master branch if that's where you need to update it. And finally you can say git merge upstream slash master. If it's main, say git merge upstream main. If it's master, say git merge upstream master. That is all. So once you kind of like do this, that's going to update your code. So what happens is like if you our code is kind of not updated from the original repository from which you have forked it, now once you run all these commands, it's going to update this as well. You can fetch all remotes as well, but again, if you want to do this from the terminal, you can do this. So now once you do this fetch and master, right, so this is going to check out your master terminal, sorry, master branch, and once you do this merge, your local code will also be updated. If there are no conflicts, then all your code are updated to whatever like you have seen in that original repository. If there are any conflicts, it would display that again, but that's a different topic. Let's say that we have fetched all the changes that has been made in that original repository from which we have forked it. Now your changes would appear in the local as well, as like we have kind of merged it now. The next step you would do is in order to update your GitHub account. So now this repository is not updated. What we have done is we have updated our PyCharms in our Git's upstream, but this remote is not updated yet. Remote origin is nothing but this one, the one that we have forked to our own account. So that is not updated. So for this, you can again run those commands that we have seen. So what you can do is like just say git add space dot, that's going to make all the changes, and then say git status to check if there is something, if or else like say a message like update from upstream. So it probably won't push because there are no changes that we did created mode idea. So this idea is kind of like there, but we don't need this. And finally you can just say git push origin master. So this will like update your code, like your repository that you have kind of forked. So this is like the entire process. I'm not pushing this because we have this dot idea. So this is what I said. So this is why we add this idea in the git ignore, but this is the whole process. So if you're forking and working on a repository, so what you would do is like first connect to your remote origin, and then create a upstream using git remote add, and then with this upstream with the original repositories URL, and then you can just like fetch the remote, fetch upstream, merge it with your local, and then push it to your repository. So it's like first you pull the changes, you fetch the changes from the original repository, update your local, and then you push it to your repository, the one that you have forked. So that is the process. I hope that this is kind of clear for everyone. So please try this code and try a different bunch of things, and it's going to be useful in your development process as well. So that is all from my side, and I'll see you in the next upload. Thanks for watching.